What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. In this episode we're going to continue on with my E46 M3. I still got some little things to take care of in order to make this thing right and also be ready to get my registration done, because I still have to get the horn working. So we're going to take care of the little things. I'll go through what we're going to do here in a minute, so stay tuned. All right, so we need to get the sunroof nice and sealed up, and if you see the back side of it, it sits too low. So we'll be taking the sunroof out. I have a new seal for it. We're gonna replace the seal with the new one I got in right there, and we're gonna realign it and install it so that I can have this thing sealed all the way and not have to worry about water getting in and whatnot. So we'll be taking care of that. Also, the fuel gauge isn't working properly, and I believe that the problem persists in the sending unit or whatnot in the tank. We're going to be taking the fuel pump and sending unit out, examining that. I do have some on the table over there from the 330 CI that I got rid of, so if I have to replace them with those, I'll do that. That fuel pump sending unit has a 255 Walbro pump, so if worst case scenario we have to change it out, I do have those. So we got to get the fuel gauge working correctly, the sunroof sealed up, and on the horn I have these loud horns that I installed on each side, but I chopped the wiring harness that feeds all that because it was all chewed up. So we'll be taking the headlight off, going through the wiring, finding the right wires to connect to that to get my horn working correctly, and I'm going to rebalance my front tires. I'm still waiting on my bushings to come in for the control arm, so hopefully we get that in on this episode. We'll be taking care of those as well. So all in all, after that, it should be good. Also, I noticed too, whenever I roll up the passenger side window, it doesn't want to stay in track and get underneath this lip. Sometimes it pokes out. So I'll be taking the door panel off, examining that. I do have a spare M3 door over here off the wrecked vehicle that I got the engine swap out of. There it is, and that regulating unit and guides and all that should be good in that one. So I'll be taking that door panel off, examining that, taking that door panel off and seeing what I got to do to fix it. Hopefully we can get that taken care of. And I did get me a order of door panel fasteners or clips, so we'll be able to secure that as well, because on this door here it is a little bit, as you can see, the clips are pretty much gone. So little things that I got to take care of in order to get this thing right. So let's start things off with the sunroof. So on the sunroof, it looks like there are some fasteners on each side. It looks about to be a T20, if you can see them. We're going to take those off. We're going to take the sunroof out, replace the seal, and put it back in and realign it. So the sunroof seal seems pretty straightforward. It looks like there's a groove that it sits in that allows it to hold in place. So we're going to be taking that trim out and replacing it with the new one, and then after that we'll be reinstalling it and aligning it. Alright, I got the fan running full blast in the background. Please excuse the background noise, but I have the seal installed now, and it definitely needed it because, as you can see on the old seal, it was torn and weathered. But there is a lip on the inside that has 2 grooves on each side. So basically the way you go about it is you pry one side in, use a trim piece tool, you go in on the opposite side, and then you push it in, and that will allow the inside seam to seat, and you have to work your way around with it. But now we're going to go ahead and install it and align it, and you have 3 mounting tabs on each side, here, here, and here. So we'll put it in, we'll fasten it down loosely, and then basically I'm going to have to align it one side by pushing up, and then after I get it pushed up, I'll tighten it down on one side and then go on the other side, do the same thing, and then come back and double check and make sure that it's flush with the roof. And then after that, it should be good to go. So let's go ahead and tackle it. All right, so I got everything leveled off. This thing is 100% sealed now. It's nice and tight, and the seal's actually pretty thick at rest. I did try to move it through its paces with it kicked up, coming back down, in, and back up. And every time I do that, it does tend to snag on the backside, being that the seal thickness is just a little bit too thick. So I'm gonna leave it in its position like it is for about a week and see if the heat and everything will help that seal conform better. And after about it sitting like this for a week, I'll move it through its paces again and see if that will stop it from snagging. Now, if it does not stop, I will have to get me an OEM seal. This is a aftermarket, it's a URO brand. I paid about 38 bucks for it. So we'll just have to see how it goes. I'll keep you guys informed on that. But right now, I won't have any worries about leaks. So we're gonna move on to balancing the front wheels. I do have the bushings coming in sometime today, hopefully. And I do get a little bit of a shake in the steering driving at, you know, interstate speeds. Now that can be the bushing causing that, but I just want to cover my bases and make sure that the wheels are 100% balanced. Now when I had the rear rims repaired and put new tires on, those were truly balanced. So I'm going to do the same with the front just to eliminate any problems after I do the bushings once those come in. So let's go ahead, take these off, go over to my buddy's shop, and we'll balance them real quick. All right, turns out that my buddy is out of counterweights, so we had to call up O'Reilly's, order some counterweights. About 30 minutes, it should be delivered. So until then, I was waiting, and Postal Service stopped by and dropped off my bushings. So I got these from Turner Motorsports, and they're polyurethane inserts for the factory brackets. This is where we'll be putting them in. So basically, you have this middle insert right here. This slides onto the control arm, and then this goes into the bushing itself. Now this bushing is going to be pushed into this bracket, and that's pretty much all there is. So I'm going to be taking these off, getting those bushings out, putting those in, reversing the order, and this should be installed. So let's do that. Okay, so now we're gonna move on to balancing the front tires. So the way that this works is you have this adapter piece that goes through the center bore, and that mounts it nice and centered onto the mount right there. You thread that on to secure it, and you have to input your settings. Now this is a 9-inch wide wheel. We got it at 9 inches. This is a 19-inch rim. There's a 19-inch, and for this number here, the way you calculate that is you have this measuring tool. You go to the inside right there. So we got about 142. You input that right there, and we're gonna dynamic balance. So what that means is we're gonna balance it on the inside and on the outside of the wheel. So to start it, I'm gonna spin it. Okay, so we have 0.75 ounce on the inside and 1 ounce on the outside would balance it. So you see those little lines, they're beeping. You have to rotate that until it's a solid one. And you bring it to the arrow. So that arrow right there says that the inside of the rim is straight up with 12 o'clock. We have a marking right there that gives you an idea of where 12 o'clock is. And for the inside of the wheel, you would just rotate it further until it is right there. So there you have it right there. It is centered with the 12 o'clock position, and that's gonna go on the inside. Now you wanna go ahead and wipe down the inside surface clean. I did that with some Power Purple and water. So we're good to go. These will stick very well. These are 1/4 ounce weights right here. So 0.75, that's gonna be 3 of these. 1.0 is gonna be 4 of these. So let's start with the inside, 4 of them. I'm gonna use this as a mock-up to mock up the 12 o'clock position. It's gonna give me an idea of where I have to place it. And I'm just gonna hold that in place, and I'm gonna rotate it so I can get better access to it. So it's mounted now on the inside.
Okay. All right. Okay. I can get it to do. Oh, I got it.
So I got 3 weights now. That's gonna be on the outside, or I'm sorry, on the inside. This is the outside, this is the inside. Just to make that clear, I may have messed up when I was saying that, but I'm gonna rotate this now to where this is right there. So now we gotta mount that 12 o'clock.
I think that's the right one.
So now that I have the weights where they should be, one right there, the other one is right there. I'm gonna go ahead and do it again. So sometimes it's hard to get the placement just right on the wheel, but let's see where we end up at. Okay, so 125 ounce, 0.25 ounce weight will go right there. Let me do that. Let's spin it again. And it is balanced. So this tire, or this wheel, was not properly balanced prior to me installing these weights, so it's a good thing I decided to do this. I'm gonna go ahead and take my time, do the other one, get them mounted up, and we'll move on. Alright, so I got the sending unit out of the car, and basically you remove the seat. You have covers, which are 4 bolts or nuts. Take those off, and then unclip the electrical connector. Then you have a ring like that locks it. You undo the ring and then you basically pull it out. The sending unit right here has a transfer little hose that kind of keeps the fuel regulated on both sides. I unclipped it and removed it, and I was looking at both of them, and what was suspicious to me is they had an aftermarket hose clamp on the sending unit side, and it looked pretty new. So I went ahead and took it out, confirmed that it is a new part, possibly aftermarket. So with that being said, typically when you see stuff like that and the fuel gauge is not working, that is the side that's at question, because both the fuel pump and the sending unit both have level gauges on it, and if one don't work correctly, it will throw the fuel gauge off. So this is an OEM one that I took out of a 330 Ci, and it is basically the same. So I'm going to transfer this one over, put it all back in, put the electrical connectors back on it, power it back on, and see if the fuel gauge is going to work. Just a process of elimination. So we'll put this one back in and tackle it, and then we'll see how it works out. Alright, so the car's running now. We don't have any leaks. I just wanted to verify that. So that looks good. And the low fuel indicator lamp that illuminates on the corner of the fuel gauge is now gone. So that definitely fixed that problem. As far as the actual level of the gauge, I don't know if that's correctly fixed. Time will tell. Whenever I'm done working on the car, I'll fill her up and see if it goes to full. If it does, then that problem is fixed. If it don't, then the problem is going to persist on the fuel level sensor side of the fuel pump, but that is yet to be seen. So for now, I'm gonna call it good, because I do have about 3/4 of a tank of gas in there. When I had it out, I looked at it, it was pretty full. So we're gonna call that good for now. I'm gonna move on now to the horn. All right, so I got the horns all wired in now. I'll show you what I did. I found the 2 wires that associate with the horn. I soldered them in and heat shrink them. They come down around. They feed down there. They come through the bottom right here, and I have some connectors, some spade connectors that I use for quick disconnects, and I heat shrink them to weather seal them, and then from there I have them paralleled off right there and right there, and I also heat shrink the spade connectors on the end right there to weather seal those, and then they feed in over to the other side where they're connected. Now I'm going to clean it up with some electrical tape and make it look OEM, but the wiring's pretty clean for the most part. And now I'm going to lower it down and we'll hit the horn and see how it sounds. All right, here we go. That's pretty loud. All right, so I finished taping up the wiring, and as you can see in the front air dam, you can't see any wiring. And basically I have it taped up right there. Comes around the bumper through that factory clip. Now I didn't tape this section of it right there that goes down, because I want it open, that way in case I have to undo the spade connectors right here. But it goes down right there, parallels off, and then I taped the cross section and I zip tied it to the shroud right here so it holds out of the way and over to this side. So pretty clean wiring. And like I said, you can't even see any wiring through the air dam, and that's the whole idea of it. So cool deal. All right guys, well I'm all out of time on this episode. We're not gonna be able to get the door panels or the window regulators situated yet. I'll do that on another day, but nonetheless, we did balance the front wheels. We got new bushings in the front. The sunroof is nice and sealed up now, and also the fuel pump and the horns are working. The horn was the only thing that I was lacking in order to get the registration done. I still got to get the window tint off the front windshield, but I'll tackle that on another day, and I'll get that registration finally done. So until next time, like, comment, subscribe, and share. definitely see you guys on the next one.